Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Pundits podcast. My name is Nathan and back to, normal schedule. I'm joined again this week by Evan.
Yes, we back, baby.
Yes.
Daddy's home.
It's good to have you back.
Yes, I got to say Harry did a great job last week.
Yeah, he was really good.
Stepping in. So
thanks Harry if you are listening.
Yes, thank you very much.
Helping us out when we were in a spot.
I hope you're listening.
So let's start with the housekeeping. All the timestamps will be down below. Make sure you hit the sub button, share around to your friends, make sure you subscribe, drop us a follow, and let's get into it. Formula One, very, very, very action-packed race.
Have you caught your breath
Mugello.
yet? Have you caught your breath?
Yeah. Well, it was that kind of race, wasn't it?
That was crazy, wasn't it?
Let's go through it in chronologically.
But let's get to the news first, isn't it?
Let's the big things that have happened in Formula One this week. Vettel to Aston Martin, that's probably the biggest one.
Huge. I know you've been a big proponent for that move all season.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple of times already, haven't we?
But how are you feeling about it now that it's confirmed?
I think Vettel needs to change. I think his confidence has just completely gone at Ferrari.
Yeah.
He needs a change of scenery, I think. He needs a new team. He needs a new car, completely different setup, I think. So I think it's great for him and it's great for Racing Point. Racing Point get a 4-time world champion and Vettel gets a fresh start.
I do think though that Sergio Perez has been a bit hard done by. I mean, he literally supported the team when they were going through everything. He paid everyone's wages. And
yeah.
I don't know. I think he could have been treated a bit better. But
yeah, I think so.
To be fair, I know you were mentioning this in the group, weren't you? That Stroll's been outperforming him all year, though.
I mean, yeah, you can't. The proof's in the pudding, mate. Stroll's placed higher nearly every race where they've both finished.
Yeah, it's
Perez was going to have to do something special when your dad's the owner of the team. But I think the fact that Stroll has placed higher in pretty much, I can't think of any races. I think there was one where Stroll placed higher in a race that they both finished.
Yeah.
And you can't argue with that, really, can you?
No, he's been outperforming him in most sessions, to be fair.
Yeah.
And, he could have almost made it back-to-back podiums, but we'll get into that. But, I think it's harsh on Perez the way he's leaving, like, unceremoniously. Yeah. But I think, given all the circumstances, I think it's the best move for both parties.
Yeah,
I'd hope he gets a seat, if I'm honest. At another team, I'd hate to see him leave the sport.
I think he could make a move. I think Haas will be looking at Perez, especially with all the money that he brings in.
I think Haas are an option for quite a few drivers on the grid at the moment.
Because he's got some big sponsors, Perez, and I think Haas with, the money side of it, they would really benefit from someone like Sergio Perez coming to the team.
Yeah.
So I think people have been saying they would like to see Hülkenberg and Perez.
Oh, that would be a combination.
It would be a combination. Whether or not we'll see it happen is a different story.
That would be the combination for the people that would. We'd love that if that comes off. But are they going to get rid of both drivers, Haas? I don't know.
I don't know, but I think it would be a good start to improving their standings, because I think Grosjean's got to go.
Oh, he has to.
He's
now below George Russell.
He has to go.
Well, he hasn't scored any points this season. He's now below George Russell. And, it's worrying how bad he is.
The Haas drivers are just so forgettable. Unless they crash into someone, you just don't think about them at all.
But
the whole
unless
race.
You see a yellow flag, if they're on track and you're like, okay, which one of them's
Grosjean
off?
Again, yeah.
You're like, is it K-Mag or is it Grosjean? They are very, very unreliable. Finishing races at the moment. And I think Perez, they need new blood in that Haas team.
Definitely.
If it's one or
Grosjean
if it's both.
has to go.
Yeah.
At a minimum, he needs to go.
Yes.
He's not performed now for a couple of seasons and he just, like I said, they're just forgettable. If you don't hear about
he brings
Grosjean,
nothing apart from money to that team.
Yeah.
That's it.
But that's what I think. Perez brings a lot of cash.
If anything, he costs them more with the amount of accidents they have.
Yeah,
so
the amount of cars they're going to rebuild.
I don't mind K-Mag as much as I dislike Grosjean, but I think it's time for both of them to go now.
Yeah, but I think if you said, would you rather Hülkenberg or K-Mag, I'd take Hülkenberg every single time.
No question. Yeah, I think Hülkenberg needs to be in the sport again. And
I think he proved that when he stepped up for Perez when he was not there.
Yeah, I think it'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. Let's get on to the bulk of the Formula One chat for this episode. So the Tuscany GP has just wrapped up.
At Mugello, for people who wondering why it's called Tuscany.
Yes.
Second race in Italy in 2 weeks, and
it was...
my God.
Crazy.
Unbelievable. Like,
probably one of the weirdest races we've had in a long time. I know Austria was weird, but...
Austria was weird. Silverstone was weird.
Yeah.
Even last week at Monza was weird.
This week was like so out of the box in terms of you would never have imagined it. So let's start off from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So before the race even started, Max was having issues.
Again. You know, again, you see the mechanics around his car.
Yeah.
And, they report it was one of the sensor issues,
electrical fault
in the power unit. Whatever it was, you could see he got off the line and he just couldn't find a gear. Yeah.
No, he just went straight back.
Yeah, and he dropped down to what was it?
Seventh, I think.
He dropped out of the top 10
or 8.
And so by the first turn, he was already miles behind, and it was like, oh no, here he goes. There's the challenger for Mercedes gone. Realistically, and then what happened after that? Do you want to take us through what happened? So obviously,
they went going into, I think it was turn 3. I'm pretty sure they were going into, and as they love saying on the commentary, 3 into 1 doesn't go.
No, 3 into 1 doesn't go.
Yeah, so you got Kimi, Gasly, and Max.
And Grosjean.
And that man rode Grosjean.
Max was ahead of Kimi and the other two.
And from, I think at the start we thought I thought Kimi had tried to move across to get a better line into the corner, but look, when we watch the replays, what you can see is Kimi actually oversteers into Gasly,
gets a little bit of a twitch,
and that flicks Gasly straight into the side of Max, and Gasly, Max and Grosjean all end up in the gravel trap.
Grosjean came around the outside of Gasly. Yeah, he gets pincered Gasly in between, and Kimi, who had a twitch and a bit of oversteer, and then they both come together. Gasly ends up going into the back of. Kimi goes into the back of Max, doesn't he? And then it's over, and then Max is out in the beach in the gravel.
Spins.
Sainz spun the car ahead,
and then Vettel clipped Sainz and lost his front wing.
Yes, so
in the first the first 3 turns, 6 cars had some kind of incident in some way. So Max beached his car and couldn't get it started again.
Gasly was out.
Grosjean
somehow managed to drive it away.
Yeah,
I'm amazed that he was the one who survived.
So did Kimi.
Yeah, and Kimi managed to get away, but I'm amazed that out of all those 4, that it was Grosjean and Kimi who got away from that
wreck. It's like the butterfly effect, that one tiny flick of oversteer from Kimi ended 2 races.
The
podium, the podium winner from last week.
Yeah.
And Max, who's was hoping to challenge for the championship, which he's definitely not going to do now.
No, not too dissimilar from when in Singapore, they, if you remember, Kimi and Vettel pincered Max Verstappen that one time and sent them all careering off, and it was a nightmare then. But so they went off, and then obviously, so like I said, Sainz spun, so it continues a streak of technically a Ferrari driver spinning. Yes, at another race, and this time wasn't Vettel. This time,
no, it was not.
And Vettel was very unlucky because he was doing everything to avoid, but
he couldn't help it.
Track was too narrow at that point.
No, it's not. He had nowhere to go. When Sainz's car was facing sideways, there was not enough space for him to go either way, and he's lucky that all he did was clip his wing.
Yeah. We haven't seen that dramatic of first lap in a long time.
No, it really, really was dramatic.
Probably since Styria, where Leclerc went into the back of Vettel, was the last time I can remember this season where it was really chaotic on the first lap.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's talk about the start again. Obviously, Bottas had a great drive off the start. Hamilton
didn't even need the slipstream. He just beat him.
Hamilton just seemed to, I don't know why he did, if he dipped the clutch again or something like that, but he had a terrible start. He almost lost out to Leclerc in the end. He's lucky he ended up in second place.
Yeah, because Max was slowing, it actually hindered Leclerc, who was then...
He had a great start.
Oh, what a drive.
Yeah, and so he was lucky that he managed to only lose one place. But obviously after the big accident, we had the safety car for 3 laps.
It was like 6 laps. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in lap 6, wasn't it?
Yeah, it came in
until lap 6. So we had the safety car. I think a few cars came in and did repairs. Like Vettel had to do his repairs, whatever. And so obviously we come down the start-finish straight for the restart. Why don't you walk us through what can only be described as a massive accident that occurred?
So what's happened is, obviously Bottas is waiting for the green light to go because you're not allowed to pass or go before the safety car line. So he's holding them up down because it's such a long straight at Mugello, he's then holding them up. And you're waiting for the start, Bottas starts to go, and then you just look behind and you saw this like explosion of debris everywhere across you're like, oh my god, what's happened? Like, you have flashbacks to Belgium when obviously like 18 cars crashed that one time and there was everything going over, but this time it was only 4. So what's happened is the cars have all been caught out by the front, like obviously by Bottas, who
we won't say holding up, but
he wasn't holding them up. He was just slowing. He was waiting for the green light. Like, to be fair, he was doing the right thing. He couldn't.
Yeah, I think he saw the green light, but I think he's not obliged to go until he has to go after he crosses the start-finish line. But he's not obliged to go before then. Which I think
he could have gone early. He could have gone late, but he doesn't have to go unless he wants to because he's the leader. As soon as the safety car pulls in and he's past the safety car line, he can do whatever he wants. So he could go early, but in this time, instead of holding them up beyond the safety car, he decided to hold them up down the straight, which was all right. But then what's happened is some of the midfield cars have started to go early, and so Latifi, who's running I think he's 15th or something because of all the accidents, has pulled out to the left. Giovinazzi thinks that he's making a move and going. He sees the green light. He then goes forward, but is unsighted, and by the time he sees what's in front of Latifi is a slow Kevin Magnussen, who he then goes into the back of.
It was a nasty accident.
It was a
huge accident.
And then collects Latifi on the left. K-Mag's obviously out. And then Carlos Sainz comes...
Just plows, and I think he plowed into the side of Latifi in the end.
Nothing he could do, just comes up under him.
That angle on Giovinazzi's onboard is pretty terrifying when you see him, the TV starts to move to the left, so Giovinazzi just puts his foot down.
Nothing you can do.
Puts his foot down. And by the time Latifi is fully out of the way and he can see Kevin Mack, there's nothing he can do at that point.
Because he's carrying so much speed because he sees the green light.
Well, that's what I think happened, because you could see the midfield and the cars at the back were just sort of hanging back to get a good bit of, because they know they're not going to catch the cars in front, but you could see they were hanging back to get a decent bit of drive when the safety car went. And I think what they probably saw was they saw the green light come on and just thought, right, we're going. And obviously Bottas was still trying to get some heat into his tyres. And he, like I said, he's not obliged to go.
No,
but obviously they can't see Bottas. No. All they can see is the green light and the cars in front.
Yeah.
So, very nasty accident. And then Sainz and Giovinazzi are lucky that they weren't seriously hurt.
Yeah, 100%. And
it was a very,
like
very
I said,
nasty
if anything,
accident.
It's going by Latifi being there and collecting him. I think Giovinazzi saved him doing a roll or going over his car, because it seemed like it was going up in the air again, and it was a huge accident, probably the biggest we've seen for a while, like in terms of number of cars and damage.
There's a lot of damage. There was pieces of car absolutely everywhere.
So they had to obviously red flag. So they've paused it. They've stopped the race, which seemed to rejuvenate Hamilton. So then we had to wait, obviously, whilst they're clearing the track, and then we got another restart, which we're like, okay,
so
again
restart, just
like Italy. Here we go again. We've got
so we had the restart, and obviously Hamilton gets an excellent start off the restart, and it all was going great. And obviously we had Lance Stroll, Daniel Ricciardo and Albon but we had looking at
in amongst all the chaos, you had Charles Leclerc at Ferrari's 1000th race You know,
just went backwards.
He's running in third from the start, and he got a decent getaway. You're like, okay, you could do this here, and then it just went, and then
he was just. Basically, what happened was every single lap he was overtaken by someone at turn 1.
Yeah,
literally, you go round, come back down the start finish straight. DRS comes on, gets overtaken at turn 1. Next lap, stays in front all lap, gets to the straight. DRS comes on, gets overtaken at turn 1, and that happened like 3 or 4, 5 times.
And obviously, the genius is at Ferrari, who told Vettel earlier the weekend go to mode W when there isn't a mode W. Then told Charles Leclerc, you're gonna have to do plan A plus 8, which implies that
he was on old softs because they didn't change him under the red flag. They sent him out on the same softs that he was on before the red flag.
And so, Mercedes then switched to mediums, which boosted Hamilton because it was fine for him.
It was absolutely insane how much time they were putting on in the first. I think after the red flag restart, I think when it was like the first lap, they were like 2 seconds up on the first lap.
Within 2 laps, they were 6 seconds ahead.
I know, it's absolutely insane.
And Hamilton was like a second and a half to 2 seconds ahead of Bottas at that point.
Yeah, I think. If I was Charles Leclerc, I would have been upset at the race managing because it was not good in terms of race management from Ferrari.
No,
and it really not that I think he would have ended up in the same place anyway, but it definitely hindered what he maybe could have potentially achieved in that race.
So then the absolute boat that he's driving just keeps on going backwards.
Yeah,
and he eventually says, "Look, these tyres are useless," and he had to come in earlier than expected to switch to a new set. So that was his race done. He's out of it then.
He's just completely just ended up racing his teammate pretty much.
Yeah, he's basically fighting for those point spots, which then opened us up to Danny Rick, and his charge for the podium. And he was running unbelievably quickly behind Stroll,
very fast.
Stroll had a great race. Got to give it to him.
I will give it to Lance Stroll, and I can kind of segues us nicely into what happened next. So we had decent number of laps of just racing.
Well, we finally had laps. So like I said, by the time there was the second restart, we'd had 9 actual laps, but we only raced 3 corners. There were 2 safety cars. There was a red flag, and 7 cars had dropped out after Ocon's brakes.
Yeah,
we'd seen 3 turns of racing, and it was just chaos.
Chaos. Yeah,
like you said, it gets to like lap 40 odd.
Yep,
and
Lance Stroll had another horrendous accident. You could tell he was a bit shaken after.
Yeah,
he got out of the car. Horrendous crash. I think he had a tyre, rear left puncture, I think.
Yeah, rear right. It was one of the rear tyres wasn't it?
Failed.
It's a bit similar to Kvyat when he went off at Copse. And,
Pirellis have not had a good record this year, have they?
I tell you what, no, and obviously...
Bring back the Bridgestones, mate.
Yeah. Speaking of Pirelli, the Mercedes got told to stay off the curbs after...
Again. Like the third race this year they've been told to stay off the curbs.
After Bottas came in and his front right had no tread on it. So, it was a bit worrying. It was a bit weird to see a front right, they said, which they said was strange to see a front right having that much tread. Deg. But, so anyway, why don't you talk us through what happens after?
Well, obviously they had to recover Stroll's car because it was in the gravel trap and there'd been some damage to the tyre wall. So they had to recover it.
Yeah, so he's had a tyre failure into like turn 12, I think.
Yeah, so we had another lap of the safety car before the session was red flagged again.
Yep.
So another red flag.
Understandably, it was a huge.
It was a terrible accident.
Very similar to Leclerc last week.
Yeah, it was Monza. Very similar. High speed corner.
Yeah.
I think they said that that particular corner was normally taking about 170 miles an hour.
Well, you can see they're flat out. They come
flat out, and then
they come through the right.
You said that he was lucky he had such a big runoff area.
I think the runoff and the fact it's going uphill has actually helped him a bit because it's slowed him down enough that it's not minimized, but it has dampened the impact that he's had. But it was still a huge impact when you see it. Obviously, a little funny moment watching the Italian stooges trying to get that car off. Them arguing and shouting
and
at each other,
ripping off the panels, and then, trying to douse the fire,
trying to cool the turbos down by just ripping a bit of carcass off. I loved it. So then we're back under red flag.
Yep.
We're all sat into the flag.
And at this point, George Russell is in the points, and he's running in 10th.
Yeah, you got Daniel Ricciardo in 3rd. You got Albon, who's now made his way back
to 4th.
Perez, Norris. He
was in 5th. Norris, who was in 4th? Somebody else was in 4th on the restart.
Perez was 4th, wasn't he?
Yeah. So and then obviously we had another standing start.
Yeah. So Mercedes then put on a new set of softs. Well, not a new set. They put on an old set, but they put on new tyres, So,
yeah.
Because obviously the red flag rule where you could change tyres, I don't like it. I agree with Norris last week. I think it's a bit ridiculous. But just before the red flag, you had Kimi Räikkönen, who entered the pits very late. Very, very late.
What?
And then got a 5-second time penalty. That was a funny moment on his radio.
Classic Kimi moment.
They were telling me he had a 5-second penalty, and he says for what?
Screams.
He screams like, for what? And then they're saying, for they said you got a 5-second penalty after the race. So he says for effing what, and then they told him, so he had to pull it out a bit after the restart. But so we get another restart.
Did well to actually keep his place. We got
another restart, and Alex Albon must have been licking his lips, because what he did after the
amazing restart from Albon. But I've not seen Albon race like that this year.
But firstly, Bottas got a terrible like they showed the thing that
Daniel Ricciardo had an amazing start.
Danny Rick was like 0.8 quicker off the start. He's even quicker than Hamilton, but obviously Hamilton.
Yeah, I think he was 0.3 quicker than Hamilton off the start.
Hamilton was further up the road, so he didn't.
Well, you said he almost went early. He put it into gear and almost went early.
They were showing us, they were showing us the thing, and he sat there in neutral, and then it goes to the first gear, and you're like, oh no, don't jump it, Danny.
Yeah.
And we thought that Cyril was finally going to get the tattoo, and unfortunately,
but I'm not even any fault of Danny Ricciardo. It's just Albon was
he got ahead of Bottas, and then Ricciardo just couldn't keep anyone behind him after that.
Yeah, he raced really well. I think he got driver of the day, Daniel Ricciardo, and I think he was great, but unfortunately Alex Albon just pulled it out of the bag. He went past Perez on the outside, I think, into turn 1.
Pushed, got his elbows out with Norris, got very racy.
Oh yeah, he almost sent Norris into a bit of a spin. Race from Lando Norris, babe.
Yeah, it was a bit quiet, wasn't it? But I mean, there wasn't, like they said,
from the land dog.
From the land, yeah. He passed Perez earlier, and then was somehow behind him again, and then the safety cars and the stopping really didn't help the land dog in his
Yeah, it doesn't suit his style of racing. Really,
no, but McLaren were struggling all weekend. If I'm honest, they didn't really. Yeah, they didn't have the best weekend. But yeah, so Alex Albon, so happy for him.
And Albon, first ever podium, which was big. I think he needed the confidence boost after what a dreadful season he's had at Red Bull.
He said in the thing, didn't he? Thank you for sticking with me, like as a little bit of tongue in cheek, because he's probably seen all the rumours about Pierre Gasly, obviously after his win last week. And I don't know. I would have liked a bit more emotion after.
Yeah,
you get your first podium compared to what Pierre Gasly had at Toro Rosso.
He was very happy,
screaming at Brazil. We had just Albon. Thanks, guys. Thanks. Thanks.
George Russell was unlucky not to get some points. I actually thought George Russell raced really well.
I thought he had a great race, but you gotta stick. He went from, what was it? He went from 9th to the back, and he just had a terrible restart. I don't know if that was the car, not being able to handle all the restarts, or if it was
the restart was really bad.
The tires, if you didn't get them up to temp. But
I will say Ferrari were lucky to get points as well.
Ferrari were terrible. Again,
they were lucky to get points.
Vettel was very lucky to get points.
And obviously Hamilton and Bottas ran away with it, as they have every week pretty much. Hamilton was booking it today. Absolutely booking it.
Just different gravy. He is just another level.
Yeah.
It's when you watch him compared to Bottas and you realise there's levels to this game.
Yeah,
because Bottas is a good driver, and he's, in qualifying he's been very close. Like he said, that's where he thinks he needs to improve. Find those couple tenths that he's missing.
Yeah,
but he's not, like, Hamilton is just a different.
He's not on the same level, really, is he?
There is just such a gulf in, in the quality that you kind of you feel bad for Bottas, because he's got his teammates streaking away.
He's basically just become Barrichello.
There's perfect example. what Rubens was, the perfect number 2 driver.
Yeah.
Would win a race here or there for Ferrari so they could get their constructors, but never really going to threaten Michael.
Nope.
And if I'm honest, that's what Bottas is now. He's kind of just become that second driver because he's not going to be. I don't think he can beat Hamilton on track, if I'm honest.
No.
Like when the cars are equal, when the tyres are equal, Hamilton, he was getting close, but he was just managing tyres.
Yeah.
The only time that Bottas was getting close was when he was using all his electrical energy and everything.
Yeah.
And Hamilton was just managing. He's just coasting. Like, I don't think anyone was really, outside of the bad start that Hamilton got, it was just a dominant victory yet again. I mean...
Yep. And it's probably going to continue to be that way under the current iteration of cars.
Until Mercedes aren't the quickest, Hamilton will keep dominating. And even if Mercedes aren't the quickest, he'll keep dominating.
Yeah.
Because he proved that he could still win in bad cars before. And even if Mercedes had a bad car, I'd still back him to win it. If you put him in any team that could challenge and get close, he'd win the race. He's just
I agree.
And he's one off Michael now. Like they said, he's had more poles at Mercedes than Michael had in his whole career.
And that's tough for you to admit because you're like a Michael super fan.
Well, like I said to you, it's getting harder and harder for me to hold on to Michael as the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's getting harder to keep up the argument because,
Well, I will say though, it's kind of crazy how around some of these tracks, Michael was getting his car around in similar times to what we see from today's insanely fast cars.
Yeah, and the aero and everything, the gear. Michael was just unbelievable. I never thought I'd see anything like Michael Schumacher. Even, when you were watching it at a young age, you were like, wow, this guy's just the drive to win. But this is what you see in Hamilton, when every time you watch him, you're like, he just wants to win it. He just I don't want to say he wants it more because it's a bit harsh on Bottas. Because Bottas wants the victory, obviously, but you just feel like if you put your money on someone to find that extra 10th or that extra...
It's always going to be Lewis.
Even if it's the extra 100th, as it proved yesterday, like, it's going to be Lewis.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be Lewis, to be honest. And like I said, he's going to, like you said earlier, he's going to break every record.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. It's a matter of time, if anything.
Except maybe Fangio's record of percentage of race wins.
Yeah, that's probably the only thing that they'll be able to hold on to after.
Yeah,
when
that's still a Mercedes driver, so Mercedes will have all the records.
I mean, Mercedes, they're way too good. But yeah, so Hamilton yet again.
We digress.
Are we giving him the title then?
I think so.
It's over.
It's over.
Max is now 79 points. Well, 70.
Well, after
80 points actually.
Yeah.
Hamilton got fastest lap, so I think he's 80 points behind. Bottas is now probably just a little bit further behind.
Yeah.
Give him that title. He's equaled.
Yeah.
He's equaled it. So
one more season to go. See how that ends up.
Well, he'll win it next year. I mean, unless Bottas
unless we finally see
Bottas 4.0.
Bottas 4.0.
If this is Bottas 3.0, I can't wait to see Bottas 4.0.
No.
Maybe we'll get 2 victories in a year. I like Bottas as a second driver because he's not really gonna. Because the thing is, we know Lewis is better. So if they put a driver like Max there, Max is just gonna take him out.
I agree.
I don't think it would be as good. Whereas we know Bottas, he's a good team player.
Yeah.
Anyone else they put there might not be as willing to give up some of the stuff. And, when he sat behind, the perfect example was earlier, though, that he does want to race and he's not just sat there.
Yeah. He was trying to add a bit of competition there.
Try to play a bit of a mind game, which you love to see it. You were like, okay, here we go. He was, he was like, I want to do the opposite on the next stop. Put me on the opposite tyre to Lewis.
Yeah.
So obviously, if Lewis went hard, he wanted to go to the softs, and
and it didn't end up working out in the end because obviously Bottas had to come in first. But
that kind of ruined the race because then Bottas's tyres fell off because he was pushing too hard.
Yeah.
And then he had to come in, and it was like, shit. Well,
Yeah.
There we go. That's done.
So anyway, shall we move onwards to the NBA?
Are we going across the pond? Are we?
I think it was a good place.
Yes.
Good place to go up next. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just talk through some of the recent games that have wrapped up. So do you want to talk a bit about the Heat Bucks series?
Yes. What did I say? Everyone doubted it. Everyone was like, oh no, they won't do it. But the Heat Miami Heat knocked off the Milwaukee Bucks 4-1, quite convincing.
Yeah, convincingly.
If anything, you're disappointed that they were sloppy in the fourth game. They didn't get the sweep of the Bucks. But yeah, the absolute calamity from the Bucks that, like we said, it just proves that they need another star alongside Giannis who can get his own shot and can help. Because Giannis is there was someone saying he's Pippen waiting for his Jordan. I don't think that's true. I think he's much better than that. I think the better comparison was what Max Kellerman of ESPN said. He said he's Shaq waiting for his Kobe Bryant.
Yeah,
I think that's the better analogy. He needs that person alongside him that can really go after it. So again, Milwaukee falls short because they can't. Well, because Giannis has got his limitations, shall we say?
Well, like, as much as Giannis is just phenomenal, you can't carry an entire team offensively and defensively on your back. It's just not possible.
No,
it just isn't possible. So,
well, Kawhi did it a lot, but he did have help, you know.
Yeah,
but yeah. So Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, and the boys down in South Beach.
Who will they
phenomenal.
Who will they be facing in the next?
The Boston Celtics.
The Boston Celtics.
So two teams that, well, I think in my preview I picked all four of these teams to go to the. Well, I said that there was a good chance that they could get a conference finals of Celtics because, you know, they've got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba. You know, they've got good pieces and they're quite deep.
So sick.
He is good, but I think it's going to be I think it's the better team for the Miami Heat that could have come out, if I'm honest. I think the Raptors pose more problems because they're deeper and they've got a great bench.
Good win for the Celtics to see off the Raptors.
Huge for the young Celtics, though, to pull that out because I'll be honest, when I was looking at the series, I was thinking that it was going to be a cakewalk for the Raptors, you know, try and go back to back. But obviously, you know, it's different circumstances this year. But you know, I thought Raptors could still make it go back to a conference finals. But fair play to the Celtics. They came up, they showed up, and now they got to deal with Jimmy Buckets. They got to deal with the Miami Heat and those boys because those boys are dogs. They will get after you. Tyler Hero, unbelievable 3-and-D guy. Duncan Robinson off the bench, you know, undrafted, and it's just lights out when he gets hot. You know, Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler, phenomenal. You know, fits the team mold of what they want to do with that rough, rugged style that they've kind of brought back from the early 90s.
Yeah,
and he's just I actually think this could be. I think Miami's going back.
Yeah,
calling my shot. I mean, I did say Miami to make the conference finals, but I can't see why they can't go all the way, get to the finals.
Yeah.
I think if they came up against the Lakers, they'd be a bit screwed.
Yeah, because obviously it's all LA Western Conference final.
Well, it's not yet, but it's looking like it.
Nah, let's be honest, it is.
You're calling it early. They're obviously playing right now. I think the Clippers and the Nuggets as we're recording this. So
is it? Okay.
But yeah, so the Lakers knocked off the Rockets last night by 23 points. They beat them.
Big win.
They stomped them, and they should have stomped them the game before, but they got loose. They got like 5. They got like 15 points off turnovers. The Rockets in like a minute and a half or something stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but they knocked them off. And you know, dominant 4-1 fashion after the first game where they were struggling a little bit with the Rockets because they're small ball and they're pacing, which I said would be a factor.
Again though, James Harden
came up short again. It's you know, I don't want to call him a choke artist. I think that's a bit harsh. I don't think he's quite that bad, but you know, if he's not getting the calls at the free throw line and he's not hitting threes, I'll tell you what. The thing that he's improved though is his defense. His defense has improved mightily, but he's again in the playoffs, just like every other year, they've fallen short, the Rockets.
Yeah.
I don't know if Daryl Morey's got to blow up the team, if they've got to, you know, just throw some people to the side. I don't think the Russell Westbrook move in the playoffs worked out well. I know he was injured for a lot of it, but, you know, he didn't look great, Russell Westbrook. But,
no.
I don't know. I think the Rockets are still short of a couple pieces.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's big pieces. I think they just need like one or two bench guys that can come off because...
Yeah, impact players.
Yeah, the role players were actually. Their role players are doing all right, but PJ Tucker, he has good defensive moments, but he scored no points in one game, just nothing. He didn't give a rebound as well, so it's like the Lakers in the end just used what they did. They bullied them on the glass. I think there was one. I think in the third game or the fourth game they had like 60 odd points in the paint, just because obviously the Rockets play small ball and without a center. So they just gave it to AD low, and even Danny Green was coming up with massive rebounds. But yeah, Lakers looking good now. They finally look like they've got it figured out on both ends.
Well, let's assume that the Clippers are going to beat the Nuggets.
I don't want... it's just a tough one to pick if they get there. But
do you think... I'm pretty convinced they'll beat the Nuggets, let's be honest.
Yeah, I think they'll beat the Nuggets. I think they'll beat them 4-2. I think they'll win tonight. You know, after the Nuggets and Jamal Murray had that massive comeback the other night, I think it's, they've had their one victory as we just see Cam Newton go in for a touchdown with his new team at the New England Patriots. We'll get into NFL in a minute. Don't you worry.
We got it on in the background.
Yeah. I think the Clippers will get past the Nuggets. I don't know if I can pick. I don't know if I can pick.
Basically, it's Kawhi Leonard, Lou Williams versus AD and LeBron.
Yeah, because
what it boils down to.
Because Paul George has really not showed up like he should, like a superstar should, because he's not the main guy on a team. He is the Batman.
Yeah.
No, he's not the Batman. Sorry, he's the Robin. Kawhi is the Batman. He is the Robin. He is a second star. He might even be a third star. I don't know. I'm going to back him. I'm going to go Lakers in 7. I think it's going to go all the way to a game 7. But I don't know. I think, LeBron's just got it.
Yeah, he's just
the ageless wonder, mate. He's 35 and he's looking like he's...
Wow.
I mean, people wouldn't tell with his numbers and the way he's playing that he's 35. He's lost a bit of speed from when he was in Miami, but my God. He's still putting up numbers. He's still dominating the league. He's still the best player on the earth for me. I mean, I know everyone's saying Kawhi, but I think it's a bit ridiculous. So my prediction, it looks like it's going to be the Lakers if it goes from what I think. I think Heat in 6 over the Celtics, and Lakers in 7, and then if that happens, I'll give my predictions on the finals, but I won't give that now because it hasn't happened, and knowing me, both of them will come wrong because it seems like when I've made predictions about teams definitely going,
it doesn't end up working out the way you hoped.
This is why we don't do betting tips, mate.
Nope. So I think
just a quick shout out to
you're taking charge. I like it. Let's see it.
Sorry, mate. I was just going to say quick shout out to the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday night, who absolutely railed the Houston Texans in the opener of the NFL.
Oh, really? I haven't watched much NFL in the last couple of years, if I'm honest. I do like it. I do enjoy watching it, but I haven't haven't watched. I watched it a lot when we were in school together. Yeah, I used to watch it a lot. We used to have Super Bowl parties. Remember?
Oh, mate, those were good. Yeah. like I said on our Twitter, I was like, you could see that the Mahomes and the Chiefs and that track team that they've got haven't taken a step back. They look like the Super Bowl champs.
And he better perform.
Yeah, he did.
I would say he better perform after they juggle that money at him.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you imagine if he was terrible?
I don't think he would be, though. Whilst he's got Kelsey and Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he's got Andy Reid, Andy Reid's the quarterback guru. If your quarterback go to Andy Reid, he'll get you numbers.
Yeah,
that's what happens. But they absolutely destroyed the Texans in the end. I know the score made it look a little bit closer, but that's what Houston get for trading away, DeAndre Hopkins. They had him there. They had a viable receiver. And if I'm honest, Deshaun Watson looked out of depth. If I'm honest, there was nowhere for him to hide.
Yeah,
and
I get you.
I don't want to say he got exposed because I think he's a quality quarterback, but the tactics of Bill O'Brien definitely got exposed because really that game should have been a bigger blowout than it was. But yeah, it's a very exciting time for the NFL. We'll have more of a recap next week because these games will wrap up. But yeah,
absolutely.
Carson Wentz looking good.
I'll get back on it.
My boy Carson Wentz.
So we can have. So you don't have to talk at me.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'll get back on it.
Anyway, my team 49ers. Go 49ers, boys. Let's do it. Let's win it this year. Let's not choke it.
I was always a Chicago Bears fan in school.
Yeah, you were. So yeah.
Let's just not talk about that.
I like that. I like that, mate. No, do it. So Bears. So now we know where Nathan's allegiance lies.
You know me for many years.
Mine's always been the 49ers, the red and gold. Let's do it, boys. Let's actually win it this year because we choked it on. It's harsh. It brings up hard memories.
Should we move on to football? Maybe that'll cheer you up.
Well, will it? Let's be honest.
No, well, let's be
Yeah.
Thank God. Let's move on. We digress.
Yes.
Let's move on to the football.
So the Premier League's back.
The normal football.
Yeah, the actual football, and also not soccer for how they like to say. Anyway, the Premier League's back, boys. Wasn't a long break like we were used to, but we're back nevertheless.
Interesting couple of games.
Yeah, so obviously the Premier League started with a London derby. Fulham versus Arsenal.
Yeah, that was not
Scott Parker's out of his depth.
Yeah,
I'm just calling it Scott Parker to be sacked.
Well, you've
by
always
Christmas.
said he wasn't even a Championship manager.
No, I reckon he's a League One manager. Where's he earned his stripes? Really? Come on, like he's a name, he's a face. If I'm honest, he's not a Frank, he's not Ollie. And who knows if Ollie's as I think Ollie's good enough because, like a friend was saying, he's where we were United.
Well, yeah, one of our friends, a really big United fan, he said the fact that he managed to float him with the team that they had when he arrived there was absolutely astounding.
But back to Scott Parker and Fulham, they're a travesty. It's going to be a long year for Fulham. Don't get me wrong, early they had little moments against
Well, you said when they got promoted that they're not good enough at the moment to be a Premier League team.
They didn't make any inspired signings. I don't know if Scott Parker's a coach, like I've said. And they just look out of depth. They were, I want to say lucky, but they were very fortunate to get to the Premier League to begin with.
Yeah, I think because everyone in the playoffs said Brentford are the team that deserve this.
Yeah, Brentford should have, and they threw that game away. They really threw away their opportunity to punch above their weight.
Yeah.
And well, they lost on the weekend to Birmingham. But anyway, yeah. So they got battered 3-0 by a resurgent Arsenal now.
Yeah.
Under what's his face? Michael Arteta.
Yeah, Arsenal or not. It's got they got a little stern about them.
Well, like you mentioned, they won back-to-back FA trophies.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think any football fan really counts one of them. But
except Arsenal
technically,
fans.
Technically they won another trophy, winning the Community Shield. But yeah, 3-0. They look good. I got to give it to them. They look. Well, I say good.
I think Aubameyang choosing to stay at Arsenal was big for them.
Yeah, well, he hasn't yet signed the contract, but it's
looking more likely that he's going to.
Willian, brilliant signing from.
Yeah, did he score? He scored, didn't he?
No, he got a hat trick of assists, even though one of them was one of them was a rebound off the keeper, which isn't an assist. But I digress. So they're looking decent again. So hopefully for Arsenal, it's always better when Arsenal are challenging because it's always better when they fail spectacularly.
You want to see those tight, races to the title right at the very end. That's what makes.
And you also want to see Arsenal flub it because it's brilliant. That's what you want. You want to see him mess it.
We're sorry, Willie.
We're sorry.
We're sorry
to any Arsenal fans we offend, but and this coming from a United fan, we're probably gonna end up flubbing it. Anyway, we haven't played yet. So
Liverpool although they it was a great game for a neutral, but they I don't know. They didn't. They should have won by a much bigger margin.
They didn't fill you with the sense that
they made chances. They just didn't score any of them.
But they were very wasteful, weren't they?
Yeah, they had the ball at all the right areas, and they just nothing with it. They did nothing with it.
But I'll tell you what, for the champions to play the champions technically, because champions of the championship in Leeds, what a game! Game of no defence apparently.
Yeah, Liverpool were like a sieve though.
Oh my god! Well,
so were Leeds, but
yeah, but Leeds were probably looking at it like, well, if the two penalties. Both of them, one of them definitely stonewalled the Rodrigo challenge for the second one.
That was bad. That was not a good challenge.
It wasn't even like when he's saying bad. It wasn't like a horror tackle. It was bad as in the decision making. Yeah,
it was so stupid.
And it's the other defender trying to defend it, like saying, "Oh, he only stuck out his leg." Yes, that's a penalty.
Yeah,
when I saw him trying to defend it, I was like, "What is happening here? What is going on?"
Yeah.
But you were impressed by some of the Leeds attacks, weren't you? You know,
yeah, Leeds looked all right. You know,
seemed to cut them up.
They were offensively. They were making pretty decent,
good blocks.
Decent, drives at the field. But I think Liverpool, although they created the chances, they had the ball in all the right area. It's always people waiting that little bit too long to just take a shot.
The extra pass.
Yeah, the extra pass, or you know. Just poor decision making, but they had it in all the right areas. So if they can just fix that problem, they'll score a lot more goals.
But in the end, scoring goals is great. But when you've got Joe Gomez and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who defensively yesterday, and I've said
when
for
they brought on Matip,
like literally, you can't really blame Virgil that much for looking around. I know he was at fault for one of the goals, but
terrible. Yeah,
the other three defenders that were around him, apart from Robertson, were defensive liabilities. And
Robertson was pretty good though.
They've been getting away with it because you've got that 6'4" giant, who's standing there, who commands it.
Well, that's what you say. It's much easier for Van Dijk to make other people look good.
Exactly. You know, it's easy for Joe Gomez to look good when you've got Virgil standing next to you. And he's clearing everything, but you know he can't do it all the time.
No.
Yeah, he didn't have the best game because he was at fault for the second goal to Bamford, where he tries to clear it with the outside.
Well, they would
of his
never
foot.
have won the Champions League or the Premier League without Van Dijk.
100% not.
Just never.
And
not even a chance.
Mo Salah got a hat trick. He got 2 penalties in that. You know, all I'm saying is that was United or Bruno Fernandes.
Everyone take one awful shot, just absolutely dreadful.
His second goal was a banger.
It was a banger.
If you want to watch a great goal, watch his second.
Just comes down to they can take some positives away, Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean,
I think another defensive signing would have been ideal. Yeah. But like I remember we were talking about this the other day, that how do you justify it after you just won a Premier League and the Champions League? You know, how do you justify?
Yeah, like there was a stat that Sky Sports brought up that in the last 4 transfer windows, they spent 23 million, and you know
Chelsea have spent like 300 million.
Yeah, and I know you were saying like, well, how why have they not spent more? And like we said, you know,
you can't justify it when you just won.
When you win the Champions League and then the Premier League, it looks a lot better if you don't spend 23 million.
Yeah,
but you know, that's because the stats are a bit misleading, because technically they spent all that just before the last year.
Yeah.
So you know, the teams that won for them were, you know, good teams. So, but yeah, I think Liverpool can take some positive.
Yeah, I think they definitely got into the right areas. They just need to work on, like you said, that one pass too many.
The key balls weren't the issue. It was, well, some of the key balls were the issue, but it was the finishing was very, very lackluster.
There was lack of finishing anything.
That's true, yeah. And so, you know,
or 20 shots, 5 on target.
They got to win. They won 4-3 for anyone that, you know, because we didn't say, you know, they won 4-3.
They got very lucky with that penalty.
Lucky. And Leeds looked decent.
Second penalty, yeah. They did look pretty good.
So, you know, that'll be interesting to see if they can stay up this year, because it'll be a tough year to stay up. I think there'll be a lot of teams fighting around for those things, although I do think Leeds won't be near it, if I'm honest. I think Marcelo Bielsa and that team are, if I'm honest, when you watch them play,
Bielsa's a very animated individual.
He's an incredibly smart man, but they do look a bit like a championship outfit when they're playing, if I'm honest. I know they scored 3 goals against Liverpool, but they did look a bit, in spots, they looked like they just come up.
Mm-hmm. Defensively, they were very poor.
Oh, very. Well, yeah.
And again, so were Liverpool. So
yeah, so you know, great for spectators.
West Brom, not a good start.
Yeah, Slaven Bilic coming back wasn't good. Another team that with West in its name that he's going to ruin, because they're also going back down. Here we go. I'm calling it again. Yeah. Fulham and West Brom going down. I mean, they didn't actually.
They were the sprinkling of Villa.
Yeah, well, I don't want to see them go down, but you know, it was
nobody. They're
it was a rough first game in the second half for West Brom. You know, looked okay against Leicester in the first half. They were doing all right, and then
Vardy back on the scoreboard.
Yeah, Vardy, you know,
starting as he means to go on. I think
he's just consistent.
Who scored the other goal?
Castagne, I think. On,
it was
on debut.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it was. A 3-0 victory is pretty good for them. It's a good way to start the year for Leicester, you know, after the disappointment of not making Champions League last year. That you would have thought they would have... that
would have been what they're aiming for, really, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, and again, the trend of penalties continuing with Jamie Vardy getting 2 today, so, you know, he'll be happy. Fantasy players will be happy because they've probably got him in their team.
Yeah, well, I think if you had Salah in your team, you'd be well happy.
Yeah, if you had Salah and Vardy, you'd be on to a great week. But yeah, I think Leicester will obviously be looking to push on from last year and get that top 4 back. Not back because they didn't actually have it, but get back up to challenging for the top 4. I think they got the right team, right players. They made shrewd signings, and there'll be a big ask with Wolves retooling and hoping to give a better go of it. Arsenal look like they're back to being a Champions League side.
Yeah.
Chelsea and United don't look like they've slipped up.
No, I think Chelsea, if that team gels,
you're really high on Chelsea.
There'll be a problem, Chelsea, if that team gels.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see if
those signings work well together.
Yeah,
Chelsea will become a problem team.
They've signed Kai Havertz, Ben Chilwell, Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech.
If those players gel together, mate, they'll be a problem.
Yeah,
they will be.
If it all works out like it should, then Chelsea should. Well, not walk the title, but they should challenge for the title.
Definitely.
But if they don't, it could fail spectacularly because this is a lot of money to drop on
a lot
players. I think most of the players they've signed, I don't really have any qualms with them going for that much or to that team. I mean, apart from Hakim Ziyech, I would have liked him on the right at United, but hopefully we get Sancho and we'll be fine. I mean, I don't know if we will, but So obviously Chelsea play later. They play Brighton. So we'll see. We'll by next week we'll know if it's going to work or I know it's very early saying if it's going to work, but you gotta start as you mean to go on. And speaking of starting as you mean to go on,
Callum Wilson got his first goal for Newcastle.
Yeah, brilliant transition there, Nath. But good 2-0 win for Newcastle.
I think that's the start they would be hoping for.
Well, especially against the lowly West Ham team with David Moyes, the uninspiring man. Moyes. Oh, God. Still have flashbacks to that 8 months that he was in charge. But yeah, no, it was good showing for the former Bournemouth men. And, Callum Wilson had a good game. He's got 2 goals on debut, which, if you're a Newcastle fan, like you said, crying out for goals last year.
Yeah,
hopefully, Jeff Hendrick as well, another signing from Burnley on a free. Hopefully, he'll show up in their midfield, which has been a bit, apart from the long staffs, and even they've been hit or miss. It's been a very out of sync midfield. So maybe he'll provide some sort of steel that they can have. And so hopefully they can return to the good Newcastle of yesteryear. So let's hope they can carry on. And then today, again,
Everton Spurs.
Spurs, I don't know.
That's literally wrapped up in the time that we've started recording this. So
so thank God, because let's get into the Mourinho bashing now. And the Spurs team that is, what are they doing? I don't know what they're doing. They haven't signed anyone that's really.
It's not even like they've got some world class players in Son and Harry Kane. So I mean,
but this team, mate, just over a year ago was making a Champions League final.
Exactly, yeah.
Now they've been played off the park by Everton. Yeah, they've got Everton have got Carlo Ancelotti. Yeah, they've just bought James Rodriguez and Allen and Decore. They've actually made good signings. And like Matt Doherty.
How'd you go from Champions League to there?
Well, because you think you're better than you are. You get ahead of yourself and you get pumped. And that's what has happened. I know it's only 1-0. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, brilliant header. He's developing into...
I'd say the header was great. The ball in was great ball in.
He's developing into a top... Not a top talent, but he's developing into good talent. It's nice to see Everton have a striker back because they've been searching for that off the...
Yeah.
And, that front three of Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin... and James Rodriguez now, which is still crazy to see.
He played really well today.
He looked like, when those players come in and they're signings and you look at them and you're like, all right, he looks like he's different gravy.
Yeah.
That is James Rodriguez when he came in.
Really good. He looked very confident. But that was the problem with Tottenham. And that was the thing that Everton did so well. Everton had to go forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were constantly looking to press forward and Tottenham just didn't. Nobody really looked. They all just looked a bit lost. Nobody was moving around. Like Rodriguez was constantly trying to make himself available in space, and he was like the playmaker. Really, everything was kind of going through him. I just don't know what they were doing. Just stood around not doing anything. Nobody was moving. It was all just, there's nobody's in space, so we'll just pass it backwards.
Unless they were playing on the break, which they had a good chance with Dele Alli. Great save by Pickford, to be fair. I
can't remember who else was it. I think it might have been
Matt Doherty also had a good chance.
But that's the thing, when Doherty had that chance, they didn't try and capitalise on the fact that it was a great save, but the ball was still there. They could have still tried to do something. They were in the and instead they just lump it back all the way back.
They took a clearance from slice clearance from Pickford and they passed it 70 yards backwards.
It just doesn't make any sense.
So I just
you have the momentum going forward. I mean, it was a great save. Don't get me wrong, but they're on the back foot.
Yeah.
Why are you, like you said, passing it 70 yards backwards? Just doesn't make any sense.
You're talking about being uninspired, but I think when you see a signing like you see Matt Doherty, you're like, oh, good, that's a nice backup player. No, he's starting for Spurs. What? Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, right? Good little player at Southampton, was a castaway at Bayern Munich. The young Dane, he's coming in now. And I think the day was summed up perfectly, wasn't it? From when that throw in, they chucked it to his feet.
He just kicked it out. He booted it straight out.
He kicked it 5 yards from any player, even a Everton player.
I don't know what he was doing.
And, Jose was then... And then at half-time, they brought off Dele Alli for Moussa Sissoko. Moussa Sissoko is not a player you bring on for Dele Alli at half-time.
No, especially when there's nothing wrong with Dele Alli.
Well, exactly. You look to the bench, you've got your Lo Celso, you've got your Jedson Fernandez. I don't know what's going on with their injuries or stuff, or whatever they're playing, but surely you can bring on a better player than Moussa Sissoko. A player who almost went to Everton, and then, on his way up to the transfer, then drove back to London because he wanted to go to Spurs, so all that happened. But I just think it's going to be a long year for us if you're a Spurs fan, because the team
they did not look good today. I think they can't play like that if they want to be anywhere close.
The game plan for Spurs is simple, innit? You get the ball to Kane, 12 yards or in, 18 yards, and then I'll give him the penalty area. You give it to him in the penalty area and you just let him finish. You get quality balls in where you can run off the defender. Yeah,
because Son had the chance to do that and put him through, but you didn't. He made it. It was still a great, but he played through to Dele Alli.
Yeah,
he could have played it through to Harry Kane, and you would always back Harry Kane to score in those kind of areas.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't knock Son for that pass. I think he made the higher percentage pass, because with the round the corner ball, if you don't nail it, it's an easy clearance for the defender.
But do you not think a player of Son's caliber should be? He
should be looking. But also, I think Son right now, and this could be a bit naive of me to say, but I think Son's the best player, or not the best player. He's the most important player to that team because he just links everything.
He was the only one when he had the ball at his feet that actually looked like he was going to make something happen.
Exactly. When you watch Harry Kane, you're like,
even Dele Alli, he just did look so muted. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and this is always been the issue with Jose. Is it going to work or not? If it's not, it's going to go bad, and it's going to look spectacularly bad. If it's going to go well, they'll win the league. But I don't think this team's going to win the league.
Do you reckon letting go of Poch was bad for Spurs?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Poch is the manager I'd want at United if Ollie wasn't there. And I think most...
Where is he now?
Nowhere. I'm amazed he hasn't been picked up by a team. I think he's holding out for the Prem. I think that's what his dream is, to come back, because he shouldn't have been fired, if I'm honest. But yeah, it's going to be a long one. And I know Arsenal fans are loving this right now. They're loving watching the demise of Spurs. But I wouldn't be surprised if they try and get him back. But I doubt he'll come back to Spurs.
Not after being so unceremoniously fired.
So yeah, it was a tough game. But Everton, I'll give it to them. Everton look decent now.
I'll be honest, they looked like the team that was going to win that game.
Yeah.
Because Spurs did not look like they had anything about them in that game. No. Everton looked pretty good, to be honest.
I mean, we almost had a Pickford moment, but I'll give it to him. He had a good game today.
He made that save from Doherty's attempt was great.
And
that
was
a fantastic saves, both of them.
Yeah.
But again, 2 saves.
Then again, it's
two saves a keeper doth not make.
Well, like I said as everyone knows, I'm not the biggest Jordan Pickford fan.
No.
I regularly comment on his performances, but he had a good game. But like I said, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah.
At some point, Jordan Pickford's going to make a save, and he'll cock it up at some point. I'm waiting. I can't wait. It'll be. Well, I say I can't wait. That's a bit harsh. I don't want him to fail miserably, but when he's in goal, you've always got a chance of him doing something. But listen, they look solid. I know that Gary Neville on commentary was a bit, baffled and befuddled by their tactics to play like 4 defenders and 3 in front from a long free kick, which Spurs then decided to play sideways, and it was half time.
Yeah, and that was funny. That was funny. And the first one they had, it's a very similar position on the opposite side of the field.
Yeah,
they just
straight at the defender,
booted it literally at the defender.
But that's symptomatic of modern football. You hardly see a player beat the first man nowadays.
No,
every corner either goes short or it's to the first man. You rarely see a nice goal.
And then when Everton did it, they scored.
Yeah. Everton
scored a beautiful goal.
They showed you how you do it. Piece. You just float in a ball. Well, not float it in, whip it in. Yeah. Literally whip it in the mixer.
It's a great goal. You can't begrudge Everton that. That is just a great set piece.
Oh, listen, Calvert-Lewin keeps doing that week in, week out. It'll be England call up in his future.
Yeah.
So,
Well, at least Jack Grealish finally got his
his
time to shine in an England shirt.
I mean, he didn't really shine when he came on, but he got, and it's amazing that he got picked behind a Leeds player who's just been promoted in Calvin Phillips. And also, Gareth Southgate's tactics in that game, he was completely out of it. Like the whole team was out of shape, it was out of sync. It was a bad performance against the Danes, but it's the Nations League. Who cares? It's a glorified friendly. It's a friendly with a cup, literally.
Yeah,
that's all the Nations League is.
But I think the problem with it is it's not going to be much more international football between now and the Euros. So they need to figure it out and get it right.
Yeah. So
when Harry was on your last week, he said there's no way Trippier's starting. The teams they played so far is literally just finding out who's going to play alongside the people that they already know are going to start.
Yeah, but there's also doing that, but at some point you've got to play him in the correct system.
I know, but
there's no point trying out all these fancy tactics that you're trying to implement when the players haven't even played for you, don't know what they're doing.
No,
in those systems, And it just reeks of when Sven-Goran Eriksson was in for me when he played Paul Scholes on the left mid, and it made Paul Scholes quit international football because the days of playing people out of position and picking players that are weird, like random, like when they picked Theo Walcott and he hadn't kicked the ball for England, he hadn't played a minute for them, and he got in the World Cup team. The days of that I thought were behind us, and I hope for England's sake, I'm not saying us because but I hope for England's sake that they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Because
how are you feeling about Wales in terms of their international setup at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're getting lucky. We're getting lucky breaks. I don't know if Ryan Giggs is the right manager.
No,
but I don't think it's all his fault. I don't think there's the talent outside of Bale and Ramsey. I know we've got Dan James, we've got Kiefer Moore. These aren't household names. I know Dan James got his move to United, but these aren't names that you can really build a team around. Like, when you're watching Dan James, you're not thinking, there's the next Bale. You're like, oh, there's the next Walcott,
Yeah.
I think he'll be a good player, but he's not a will be.
Yeah. Speaking of Bale, obviously, quite a few rumours spinning around about Bale's return to the Prem at the moment.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
I tell you what, watching today, Spurs could do with him. Spurs could do with him on that right wing.
Excellent.
Could you imagine that front three of Son, Bale, and Kane
crispy.
With Dele Alli behind them? I think it could work.
But obviously, no one's gonna buy him.
And also,
he'll go on loan.
But he also wouldn't fit with Jose's tactics. He's not. Yeah. He's not
I think Real Madrid have agreed that they'll loan him out. If they loan him out, they'll be a 50-50 split in terms of wages. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see him loaned out to a team in the Prem, but I very much doubt he will actually, until his contract is 100% finished at Madrid.
Which he's got another 2 years, and he said he is happy to play golf for 2 years. Basically, he literally said he'll play golf for 2 years, and he'll sit on the bench. He doesn't care if they don't want to pick him. They're just giving him 300-400 grand a week just to sit on the bench.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not bemoaning it. I'd love to. Well, I am bemoaning it because I'd love to be that guy.
I think he'll go in 2 years. He'll go on a free when his contract finishes.
He's too good to just be sat on the bench.
Do you think? Do you think he'll go on a free?
No, I think they'll sell him. I think they'll loan him out this year, and someone will buy him. I think if United don't get Jadon Sancho, if we can get a 50-50 split on wage, I reckon we should get him because he'd be an upgrade on what we've got a right wing now. So, if we can get a 50-50 split, maybe.
Who United playing first Prem game?
I think they play Palace next week, so that'll be a tough task.
I know you're not particularly hopeful for Palace this year, are you?
No, I think they're going down. I think it's fine.
You said West Brom. What was that we were talking about? You
West
said West Brom,
Fulham, and
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace to go down. And
mine was the same. Except I said I reckon Villa are going down.
Yeah.
As much as I really would hate to see that, but
I wouldn't really hate to see it. I mean, if they go down, they go down. But
yeah,
I think
you like Villa in the Prem.
Yeah, I think it's better. Like again, they're a team that deserves to be in the Prem, aren't they? I think some teams have lucked their way there, and some teams deserve to be there. I think they're one of the teams that have deserved to be there.
Yeah, it's that sort of group of teams, though. You think any of those three could be the ones that end up going down?
There's about 7 or 8 teams that are relegation candidates this year.
Yeah.
I think it goes from Leeds down to, so like your teams you're looking at your Leeds, possibly if they don't hit the ground running, West Brom, West Ham, Southampton might be in it again, Palace, Fulham, Villa, Brighton, and there might be a couple more. Who knows? If Burnley don't kick on again, they seem to have an up and down year. They have a good season, then a bad season.
Yeah,
it could be a very, very tight race for the relegation, but
we shall wait and see.
We shall definitely see. I can't wait.
I think that probably a good place to draw a line. Thank you very much for listening. If you've made it this far, make sure, as I said in the beginning, drop down below, drop us a like, drop us a sub. Please do get in touch if there's anything you'd like us to talk about or address. Just drop us a message on Instagram or Facebook, and make sure you go follow us on all our social media platforms. So that's at Everyday Pundits. And we will see you again next week. Thanks very much, Ev.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back.